Coming up, the Loyola men's basketball team won its first Atlantic 10 matchup against St. Bonaventure. We have your highlights.
Plus, a look at the 11th ranked Loyola men's volleyball team as they start the 2023 season.
Also, Loyola is making history by setting records with indoor track and field.
I'm Nate Keough.
And I'm Amelia Villhauer.
All this and so much more.
Rambler Sports Locker begins now.
Welcome back, Rambler fans. It's great to be back for another semester of Rambler Sports Locker.
Good day, everyone. After a semester of being away in Australia, the land of kangaroos and rugby, it's good to be back. Rugby sure is exciting, but one thing I really missed is good old American football.
It's good to have you back, mate. And thankfully, you are back just in time for the heat of the NFL playoffs. Championship Sunday is fast approaching, where 4 teams will compete for their respective conference titles and a trip to Super Bowl 57 in Arizona. The NFC Championship will feature the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles, while the AFC Championship will pit the Cincinnati Bengals against the Kansas City Chiefs for the second straight season.
The 49ers had to face off with Dallas Cowboys before getting to their spot in the Final Four. More attention was brought to this game because both teams have been performing so well, thanks to the 49ers trade for running back Christian McCaffrey and Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott returned from injury. In the end, the 49ers took the win with a final score of 19-12. Meanwhile, in the AFC, the Bengals versus Bills game was a rematch of the game where Bills safety Damar Hamlin suffered from cardiac arrest on January 2nd. Hamlin has since recovered and even attended the rematch, but the Bills couldn't pull through and lost 27-10. The Bengals came in hot with quarterback Joe Burrow throwing 2 first-quarter touchdowns. Perhaps that determination will carry that team all the way to the Super Bowl. Thoughts on the upcoming games, Nate?
Well, call it a hot take, but I like both road teams this week. The Niners have an elite defense to slow the Eagles' loaded offense, and Brock Purdy has definitely proven himself as a dependable quarterback that San Francisco can count on in big games. As for the AFC Championship, the Bengals have proven they know how to beat the Chiefs. Burrow and the boys have won each of their last 3 meetings with KC, including last year's AFC Championship game. Plus, Mahomes may not be 100% after an ankle injury last weekend. I like a Niners-Bengals Super Bowl matchup this year.
I also like the sound of that Niner-Bengals matchup this year. But before we get there, the 49ers face off the Eagles on January 29th at 2 p.m. at Lincoln Financial Field. Then the Bengals-Chiefs game follows at 5:30 p.m. in Kansas City.
In other sports news, one Rambler runner gave a record-breaking performance in a recent indoor track and field meet. Samantha Martinez has the details.
On January 20th, the Loyola track and field team opened the 2023 calendar season at the Blue Demon Alumni Classic at Gately Park. Ramblers Miguel Abaitua and Gabe Smith earned the top 2 spots at the event in the 1,000-meter run. Abaitua set an event record with a time of 2 minutes and 25 seconds, which placed him 6th in Loyola history. Smith finished with a time of 2 minutes and 27 seconds, which broke the previous event record of 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Nora Willen finished 4th in the mile run, and Grace Kuhn placed 8th on the women's team. 4 men's runner placed 4 in the top 10 spots in the mile event. Fionn Harrington placed 3rd, Cameron Arkestein placed 4th, Blaise Bice placed 5th, and Kenny Wallace placed 7th while setting a new personal record with a time of 4 minutes and 11 seconds. The team continues its season on January 27th at the Indiana Relays in Bloomington, Indiana. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Samantha Martinez.
Thanks, Samantha. In another Rambler Sports news, the men's volleyball team is having a strong start to their season with a 5-game winning streak along with a new coach. And here's William with the story.
Dig this, Rambler Nation. The Loyola men's volleyball team is off to one of its hottest starts in recent history. After defeating the New Jersey Institute of Technology and Long Island University on January 20th and 21st, the Ramblers' winning streak grew to 5 games. Their 5-0 record puts them at 1st place in the Midwestern Intercollegiate Volleyball Association and now number 10 in the national media poll. The Ramblers are led by first-year head coach John Hoxha, coming from a highly respected UCLA Bruins program. Last year, the Bruins led the nation with a .374 team hit percentage and were ranked number 1 in the country for 9 straight weeks, according to Loyola Athletics. Hoxha's offensive-minded approach has helped the Ramblers so far, allowing their opponents to win just 1 set total through 5 games. Additionally, outside hitter Parker Van Buren was recently named as the conference's Player of the Week. The 6'9" redshirt sophomore averaged over 5 points per set in their first week of play. Hawks, Van Buren and company look to continue their early season dominance in a home tilt against the Maryville University Saints this Friday, January 27th at 7 p.m. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm William Bazzone.
Thanks, William. And speaking of the latest success for the volleyball team, there have been 9 new members this season, and Vanessa is here to talk about it with her segment, New Blurs on the Block.
Welcome back, Ramblers. It's 2023, and we're headed into the new year with some exciting news for our Loyola men's volleyball team. The men's volleyball team just added not 1, not 2, but 9 new blurs on their block. According to Loyola Athletics, head coach John Hoxha says they're talented, competitive, and each offer a high level of volleyball IQ at each position. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. Starting off with a 6'9" middle blocker from Evanston, Illinois, Aiden Klein. It looks like Klein is sticking to his roots. According to Loyola Athletics, his mother, Megan, was a fellow Rambler and graduated from Loyola. Next, Gavin O'Brien, another middle blocker and Illinois native. These next players now put the gold in the maroon and gold. All the way from the Golden State, also known as California, 6 new rookies head over to the Windy City and will soon call Loyola their new home. Lucas Anderson, the right side hitter from Manhattan Beach, California, currently attends Loyola High School in Los Angeles. Call it what you want, foreshadowing, coincidence, but to me, it looks like fate. We've also got Tyler Howard, Liam Fininzi, Cole Schobel, and Charlie Ledford. Last but certainly not least, across the globe from Břeclav, Czech Republic, we welcome Daniel Fibakovic. The 6'9" outside hitter assisted the U18 Czech Republic national team to earn a silver medal at the European Championship. Volleyball surely runs in the Fibakovic family. According to Loyola Athletics, his sister played for the U17 national team in the European Championship, and both his parents played professional volleyball in Czech Republic. That's a wrap on this episode of New Blurs on the Block and a quick preview of these extremely talented rookies. We're all excited to see them in action in the 2023-2024 school year. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Vanessa Hoxha.
Thanks, Vanessa. The men's volleyball team has certainly enjoyed some recent success, and I'm interested to see how they fare this year.
With the mix of a new coach and new players, nothing is stopping this team.
RSL is back for the semester, meaning everyone's favorite segment is back. I'd now like to welcome Lucas Kihmm and William Bazzone to join me for this week's Ramble.
Hail Mary, it's January, as we welcome you back to another season of The Ramble. I'm your host, Lucas Kihmm, here with William Bazzone and Nate Keough. We're starting this season of The Ramble talking about America's favorite pastime sport, baseball. On Tuesday, the Hall of Fame ballot results were released for Major League Baseball, deciding who would have their name on a plaque in Cooperstown. For players to be inducted, they must receive at least 292 votes from the Baseball Writers Association of America or Veterans Committee. This past Tuesday, Scott Rowland, famously known as a third baseman for the Cardinals, was the only player to pass the 292 vote margin and be inducted in the Hall of Fame. Several players on the ballot this year were considered controversial, specifically players who tested positive for performance enhancement drugs during their careers. Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, and Manny Ramirez all used some type of steroid to enhance their play. So the question is, should baseball players who were caught using steroids be allowed in the Hall of Fame? Will, let's hear your take on the subject.
Well, Lucas, in my opinion, I really do think people that use steroids, it shouldn't matter, because I think the Baseball Hall of Fame, they're very traditional in how they elect people into the Hall of Fame. It's very much like merit-based. Like, they don't really look at a lot of things. Like, we look at, I don't know, Tim Raines, for example, right? He used cocaine during his career. He was at the center of the Pittsburgh drug trials, which was very famous in the 80s, and he's in the Hall of Fame. We look at Pete Rose, who was banned for life for betting, right? And now sports gambling is legal, so should he be in the Hall of Fame? I think absolutely. And, you know, let's not forget that baseball was a segregated game for pretty much the first 70 years of its history, and we see guys like Tom Yawkey, who's the Red Sox owner, a notorious racist, same with Ty Cobb, both are in the Hall of Fame. So I really don't see why performance-enhancing drugs should be a reason why you shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, because, look, Barry Bonds had 2 Hall of Fame careers in one before he took steroids and one after. So they were legal when he took them, so really it's not a problem to me, and I think they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Nate?
I disagree, Will. I do not think that players who use steroids should be rewarded for their Hall of Fame. I just think that it takes away from the notoriety and the attention that the players who didn't use steroids during the steroid era get. One of my favorite examples is Frank Thomas, personal to me. I saw him get inducted in the Hall of Fame actually in 2014. My dad was there. White Sox legend, one of the greatest hitters in the history of that franchise. He was so under the radar Hall of Famer during the steroid era, because all anyone cared about in Chicago was Sammy Sosa hit a home run, did Barry Bonds hit a home run, did Mark McGwire hit a home run, and not only did the game only become just about home runs during that era, which I think is a big problem. We saw that just a couple of years ago with the juiced balls and like those London games, the Yankees and the Red Sox, where it was like 20-18. Like I get that the home run is exciting, but that's not all there is to it. That's not baseball. And I think the players who play the game the right way, follow the rules, should be rewarded. Ultimately, Frank Thomas is a Hall of Famer, and so other players are not.
Well, that is very true, but I think you have to wonder also, like, did pitchers who use like spider tack, right, 2 years ago to get the spin velocity up on their fastballs and curveballs and make them impossible to hit, like, are they going to be in the Hall of Fame? Or we look at the Astros players, Jose Altuve, right? Is he going to be in the Hall of Fame? Because, like, I don't, if we're going by this metric here, right, it's like those guys will probably be in the Hall of Fame, but they cheated. They actually cheated. Performance-enhancing drugs for the longest time, I stand by it, they were legal. I don't see why they shouldn't. Go ahead, Lucas, go ahead.
I just feel like, you know, why do these players have to take them is my question. Like, they've made it to the MLB. There's so many young baseball players that are just dying to get there. And they're like, you know what, let me just be the strongest ever. Like, that's my question thinking about this. It's like, you know, Barry Bonds, classic, you know, example all the time. It's like, he was a great player, you know, played at Sarah, like, and everything. He was a great player before he even, you know, took the steroids. So my question is, like, why do these players even have to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think no matter any amount of steroids you take, no drug is going to help you hit a baseball. That's one of the hardest things to do in all of sport. No steroid is going to help Barry Bonds be able to read the pitch based off its spin. Like, these are good players. It's just like the unnecessariness behind it, you know, just thinking I'm going to hit more home runs, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to smash these records.
And I think, like you said, it just goes back to, like, who wants the records, who wants to be the best, the best, the best. I mean, you even look at, like, Albert Pujols, who, like, just recently hit the 700 home run thing, and, you know, a lot of people were questioning him, too. It's like, God, this guy kind of fell off with the Dodgers for a little bit, came back to the Cardinals, but all of a sudden this guy's just hitting homers and homers and homers, and you have a lot of people thinking, like, did he use steroids, you know, to kind of revive his career? And
well, they did the same thing with Hank Aaron when he did it, right? I think he was pushing 40 or at least over at the time that he did it, and everybody didn't like him. They thought he used steroids. But to answer your kind of claims about, you know, why do you need steroids to hit a home run? At the time when steroids were becoming popular in the late 80s and 90s, it was a very small ball game. It wasn't about the long ball. It was very much about contact hitting, and I think seeing a lot of people hit home runs at such an exponential rate, I think it really changed the game of baseball, and it put eyes on.
So do you think baseball then is the same as it was then in the early 2000s or late 90s now, just because?
Well, I think it's different. I think it's still very much about the home run ball, but now there's so many different things that go into it, right? Like, you know, we saw it with, like, pitchers trying to get a competitive advantage, and most people don't care, right? They don't care if pitchers need to use a little extra grip. So it's like, you know, I personally, I don't think it should be a problem. People who use steroids should be in the Hall of Fame. That's it.
Right. Well, that's pretty much it. Thanks, everyone, for your input, and let's swing it back to Nate and Amelia with some sports updates.
Thanks, Lucas and William. In Loyola news, the men's basketball team took on the St. Louis Billikens on Wednesday, January 18th. The Ramblers came out hot to a start, shooting 45.8% in the first, including this dunk by junior forward Philip Alston. The rest of the half proved to be a physical battle between the teams, with only a 4-point difference in the score at halftime. Despite first half effort, the Billikens overpowered the Ramblers in the second half, shooting at 57.7% from the floor. Ultimately, the game belonged to St. Louis, ending with a final score of 76-59.
I'm passionate about this place. I love this place, so I'm going to continue to do everything I can to get our team back on track. It's easy to support the team when it seems like everything's going smooth and going good, but the hard thing to do is to still support this group right now, and they need it now more than ever.
After a tough 6-game stretch, the Loyola men's basketball team finally snapped their 7-game losing streak with a win over the St. Bonaventure Bonnies this past Saturday. Executive producer Gabbi Lumma was there to capture the highlights.
The losing streak is no more. The Loyola men's basketball team defeated St. Bonaventure 67-55 in this afternoon's match. We have your highlights.
The Bonnies were the first to get on the board with this 3-point jump shot by Kyrell Luke after the Ramblers missed a shot from 3. Loyola responded quickly with a jump shot by Jameril Wilson, who was a key player off the bench for the Ramblers. One of Loyola's top performers, senior forward Tom Welch, sparked the Ramblers' energy with this alley-oop dunk, making way for Loyola to take the lead. Another player who contributed to Loyola's bench performance was junior center Jacob Hudson, who scored this 3-point jumper, sending the fans in Gentile roaring. After a strong defensive performance in the first half, the Ramblers went into the locker room at half in the lead, 31-27. Loyola started the second half off hot with back-to-back baskets by Hudson, including this layup. Just a few minutes later, redshirt freshman Ben Schweiger hit this dunk, adding to the strength of the Ramblers' offense. The Bonnies tried to overcome the Ramblers after this 3-point jumper by Daryl Banks brought them within 3 of the tie, but ultimately the game was Loyola's. Following the win, Loyola head coach Drew Valentine said it feels good to get his first Atlantic 10 win, but he's not getting comfortable anytime soon.
We can make a decision. We can either feel like the monkey's off our back and relax, or you can have your foot on the gas pedal. So make a choice. And I can tell you what, me and the coaching staff, we ain't taking our foot off the gas pedal.
The win against St. Bonaventure marks the Ramblers' first in the Atlantic 10 Conference so far this season. Up next, Loyola will travel to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Wednesday, January 25th to face Duquesne. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm executive producer Gabbi Lumma.
Even though men's basketball was able to break its losing streak, the women's basketball team has not yet been able to. The Ramblers are still playing a strong game, which was clear in their game against LaSalle.
They certainly had their hands full with the LaSalle Explorers, who led the nation in 3-pointers made. The Ramblers definitely outplayed them in the first half, but LaSalle was able to hang around thanks to their 3-point game. And they eventually pulled away in the third quarter and never looked back. Here's a more in-depth look at what went down Sunday. I'm here at Gentile Arena, where the LaSalle Explorers just defeated the Loyola Ramblers 67-51. Here are some of the highlights. The Ramblers started off the game strong, opening on a 7-0 run before the Explorers called their first time out of the game. However, it didn't take long for LaSalle to answer, going on a quick run of their own and tying the game at 9 with about 5 minutes left in the quarter. The rest of the quarter was fairly even, but Loyola led 15-13 at the end of 1. The second quarter was very back and forth, but the Blurs held a 4-point lead heading into the final minute of the half, thanks to a perfect free throw percentage to that point. However, LaSalle's elite 3-point shooting came into effect as they hit 2 threes in the final minute to seize a 30-28 halftime lead. The third quarter is where things really went south for the Ramblers. They fell victim to offensive struggles, similar to recent games prior. They made just 1 shot from the floor in the third and were dominated by LaSalle all 10 minutes. The Explorers built a 15-point lead heading into the fourth quarter and didn't look back, taking the game 67-51. The Ramblers shot 32% from the floor, including guard Sam Gallinopoulos going 3 for 13. Loyola did get a strong performance from their bench, especially from Mallory Ramage, who scored 9 points, and Jayla Johnson, who dropped 8. Coach Keough had this to say after the game.
I know that this team, the fans in the crowd, they want us to hit more shots. We want to hit more shots. We want that. What you didn't see today was a team who gave up and didn't leave empty. We fought till the very end. We fought in stretches where I thought we were the better team in the moment. We're learning consistency. Stay with us. Stay with us. We promise we are going to put a product on the floor that's entertaining in terms of basketball.
For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Keough.
That wraps up this episode of Rambler Sports Locker.
To stay up to date in all things Rambler Sports, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Loyola RSL and subscribe to our YouTube channel. From all of us here at Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Nate Keough.
And I'm Amelia Villhauer.
And don't forget to turn off the lights.